on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield. Aggie football has been brought to you by Ford, build Ford proud, and by Stokes Trucking, doing the right thing since 1979. From the All-in-One Flooring America radio booth, welcome to Aggie Postgame.
Well, tough one for the Aggies tonight. Lose this game 44-24 to Texas A&M. Your post-game show brought to you by Farm Bureau agent Bruce Jones. Contact him at 435-752-3233. It's your future. Time to protect it. Well, the Aggies lose by 22 here at one of the more famous venues in all of college football. You can tell that there is a gap, but Utah State fought through it as best they can. There's a lot to work on, but it doesn't feel kind of hopeless like it did maybe some of these other games we've seen in the last few years.
You think about the LSU game in 2019. I mean, that was a national championship team.
Yes.
Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and that group, Justin Jefferson, that was one of the all-timers. That was a 42-6 game. Then you go to Tuscaloosa in 2022, and it's a 55-0, and then a 48-0 shellacking last year at USC. This feels very different. A group of young men that are not going to quit, that are going to play to the whistle, a team that's well coached, that has a desire to want to, and they can build upon that for sure. Thought the Aggies played hard to the very end, especially there in the fourth quarter. When they started going against guys that were maybe a little more like what they'll see the remainder of the year with the second and third team guys here for Texas A&M. But that first unit for Texas A&M, especially that defensive front, boy, they can get after you. 6 sacks on the game given up by Utah State, 9 TFLs for Texas A&M, and really some things that Utah State's going to have to look at schematically to try to help their left tackles and their right tackle to help them protect the quarterback a little bit more, because that's now 13 sacks given up by Utah State in 2 games, and that will not get it done down the stretch of the season.
No, and you were mentioning there's a lot of film out there now. You got 2 games of film of Utah State giving up a lot of sacks. And so, there's going to be a lot of DNs and a lot of defensive coordinators licking their chops right now. And so Utah State's got to find a way to shore that up.
And that may mean you got to bring max protection with the tight end or with a back to try to help you in those kind of situations. But I thought the key moment in this game, down 10-6, was the back-to-back-to-back sacks that Utah State gave up to Texas A&M, and they could never really recover from that, because then Texas A&M gets good field position, and then, of course, the touchdown at the end of the first half was big. The third quarter, Utah State comes out, cuts the game to 20-14, and gets the ball back on a 4th down stop, and you're thinking, okay, if Utah State can go punch one in, maybe you get another 2-point play, you make it a 30-22 game, a 1-score game in the third quarter, but Utah State went 3 and out, and Texas A&M then went on another scoring drive, made it 37-14, and Utah State never really could regroup at that point. But you do like the effort, you do like the energy, you do like what you're seeing out of this Aggie football team, and that will bode well as you move into Mountain West Conference play next Saturday night.
This post-game show brought to you in part by Progressive, the Keys to Progress program, providing cars to veterans in need. We continue on with your post-game show next. You're listening to Aggie football from Learfield.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit LSSINS.com.
Passion, enthusiasm, extraordinary skill. Isn't that what you want from a chef? From salads to seafood, wood-fired pizzas to unique pastas and succulent steaks, the Elements Restaurant chefs have spent hours creating choices for you. A casual dining experience for lunch or dinner with daily specials and menu choices that always deliver excellence. The Elements is a complete dining experience for everyday dining and for special occasions in your life. Appreciate elevated simplicity. Only at the Elements Restaurant, 750-5171.
At Top Shed, it's more than just storage. It's style built to last. Simple storage sheds to backyard retreats or the perfect chicken coop. Top Shed has you covered. Custom built with premium materials designed for durability. We'll build right on site in places like Brigham City, Smithfield, Montpelier, and beyond. Don't wait. Late summer and fall are the best time to design, build, and deliver for year-round use. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit topshedusa.com.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
This Utah State Aggie broadcast is brought to you by Adams Wealth Advisors, your trusted financial team. Whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning, on News Talk KVNU.
Solutions provider selling and servicing the broadest selection of copiers, printers, and data security solutions. Learn more at deximaging.com. Scott Gerard alongside Kevin White as we continue on with your Aggie postgame show, brought to you by Farm Bureau agent Bruce Jones. Kevin, a lot to build on, but now the games really matter when Air Force comes to town.
No question. And I think hopefully you got out of this game with a limited number of bangs and bruises. We saw Trey Anderson go down in the third quarter, and we saw him in street clothes on the sideline. Hopefully not something that will keep him out long term. But you're right, a lot to build on, a lot to clean up. Still some procedural challenges. When you look at the penalties for Utah State, another 11. Last week, 11 for 73. Today, 11 for 72. So that's back-to-back weeks with double digits in penalties, and a lot of those are formation and procedural kinds of plays that Utah State's going to have to clean up. Got to figure out left tackle situation.
Yeah.
Got to have to figure that out. It's Jake Eichhorn is doing the best he possibly can, but when he's going against Cassius Howell, who's going to be
He's
probably
going to be
player of the week.
And in the country. And will be making a lot of money someday. Well, he's making a lot of money right now, but even more so in the NFL.
Whenever you're wearing orange shoes, I mean, you can see who's got the shoe deals out here for LSU. You got running backs with blue and green shoes, and Howell has the orange shoes out there. But the back-to-back sacks that he put on in the second quarter, it was really the second quarter for Utah State where they had only got negative 15 yards of total offense in that quarter. That was really the undoing for Utah State here this afternoon. But a good fight all the way to the end for Utah State. Again, the other thing to look at, and we're going to have to talk to Coach Kevin McGiven about this. Now, 4 of 26 on third down conversions offensively, something they're going to have to try to figure out going forward.
Let's catch up with John Miller after this one. Utah State drops a tough one, 44-24. John, what was the message in that locker room after this one?
Just get back to work. We got another opponent coming into our house next week.
Not here, John. We'll try to get him back up and dialed in here in just a moment. But the final in this one, 44-24.
John had 7 tackles, including 2 sacks.
Can you hear me, Parker?
I can hear you, Ajay. How about that?
Can you hear me?
There we go. John Miller, kind enough to join us. How are you, John?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Sorry about that. What was the message in the locker room to you from the coaches?
Message is just played hard. We got to fix some execution things. We need to just get back to the drawing board, get back to the game where we play, and then focus up on the next opponent coming in who's going to try to come into our house and win a game. So just focusing on that.
John obviously came from Oregon State last year, and just curious to get your thoughts in terms of what you're seeing in terms of the difference between last year and this year for you defensively.
I would say it's a lot in the sense of I've never really been around a group of guys who work so hard and give it everything day in and day out, especially from coaching staff to the players. It's just a whole bunch of guys that I know who are hungry and want to work. So we definitely know that this doesn't taste good in our mouth, and we're going to definitely try to do something about it next week and continue to stack days throughout the week.
That's been kind of the message, stacking days, and you guys have made a bunch of progress, and through spring and through fall, they pushed you hard, and now you hope to see the results of that effort you put through, because I know, this game didn't go the way you wanted, but the effort was never an issue in this game.
Yeah, no, I think there are definitely some areas where we can make more effort and clean some things up, but other than that, that is definitely something they've driven into us throughout the spring and throughout the fall camp is just effort and being able to play with total effort 24/7, and that's kind of what we're getting to and what we're trying to give or make as what Utah State defense is.
John, I'm curious, how do you mirror, and it's probably impossible to do during the course of a practice week, the speed that you see when you come down to these kind of games?
The speed, I mean, we got guys who can fly around, especially on our scout team too, so I wouldn't say the speed was a lot different. It was just being able to get our eyes in the right spot and seeing a lot more things. So being able to get our eyes on our keys, it would have been a lot better. We should have done a lot better with today, and I think that was really just the biggest thing is just our eyes. The speed wasn't too bad.
You had a quarterback that can run around and make plays. Just how difficult is it when you feel like you've defended a play really well, but a guy can still break a pocket and get a first down?
It's definitely tough because you always have to have somebody dedicated to him, making sure that he doesn't get loose, especially when we have tight coverage in the back end. So focusing on being able to get to our drops but also have eyes back on the QB is a huge thing just so he can mitigate scramble as much as we can.
You made the decision to come back. You could have certainly gone somewhere else, but I'm curious to get your take and your opinion on your role with this team. And, do you take your role in terms of perhaps mentoring a young guy like Chris Joe as something that is important to you?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And the reason why I feel like I decided to stay here and work with these guys is because I saw what they were preaching, and that's we're going to build a strong bond. We're going to do hard things, and we're going to come out on top, and you're going to give it everything you can throughout the season because that's what this is. This program's all about is earn, not given. You're going to work as hard as you can so that you can go out there and play the best you can too as well.
Have you ever played Air Force before?
No, I have not.
I'm sorry, man.
Make sure you got those knees all sort of iced
sorry.
up before we get into that one next week.
It is not a pleasant experience, I know.
But, John, that is the kind of game that you could get 15 or 20 tackles. You're probably going to have some dive responsibility. Obviously, you'll get into that as you get going. But how important is it now for you to kind of flush this one and look forward to that game next week at the Mountain West Conference opener?
Yeah, I think it's very important because, like you said, it's a Mountain West Conference opener. So being able to start off on the right foot when it comes to league play is a huge thing. So we're definitely going to have to try to flush this one, grab the good, fix the fixable, and correct the critical errors that we had, and then try to go back to the drawing board and work.
John, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, John Miller. Utah State defense, there were moments they got pushed around, and there were moments they stood up and played really well.
A couple of fourth down stops, which were huge. John had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, another quarterback hurry. What you love to see is those 2 backers with Bronson Olivao and John Miller, and then obviously Chris Joe as well. We played a little bit more sort of that outside linebacker today, but you've got some great pillars to build around with that with those 3 linebackers, those 3 young guys. A lot of cross blitzes and a lot of different blitz packages coming from Nick Howell that got John Miller some free runs at the quarterback.
By the way, those sacks of John Miller, tonight's sacks of the game, all brought to you by Lee's Marketplace. All right, we continue on with the post-game show. Anticipate chatting with Pagan coming up here in a little bit, get his thoughts on this game and exactly from an offensive side where things really started to slow down for Utah State there in the second quarter and how that can be remedied. Okay, so the protection issue is real, but the other things, how fixable are some of the other issues you see with Utah State?
I think what we saw there in the fourth quarter is more indicative of what we're going to see because that's the kind of athletes that Utah State's going to see in the Mountain West Conference when you get to the second and third team units here for Texas A&M.
I agree.
Where Utah State got going now. They started moving the football. They still have the protection challenges that they're going to have to fix, but I thought that they got going a little bit in the running game. Miles Davis finishes with 10 carries for 50 yards. Javen Jacobs, 8 for 32. I thought those 2 guys ran very well, especially in the second half. And when they started moving off of that right-hand side, they got behind Junior Sia, who moved in for Trey Anderson at that right tackle position. In that first drive of the third quarter, it was Miles Davis off the right-hand side that got the big-time run, and it led to the Braden Pagan 16-yard touchdown reception from Bryson Barnes. And you just thought, okay, 30-14, then you get the fourth down stop, and you're thinking, you got a chance here if you can go punch one in. But Utah State just could not keep things moving there. They got to clean up the procedural pieces. There were a couple of mix-ups in the backfield when you had the 3 running back formations. You got to figure out how to get separation with your wide receivers, and I thought that they started to do that with Brady Boyd there in the third and fourth quarters. Brady finishes with 6 catches. He had 12 targets this afternoon, 87 yards, a long of 24, and I thought that his connection with Bryson Barnes there, especially in the fourth quarter, really started to show itself. And then how about the throw to Kahanu Davis? It's his only catch down the Aggie sideline, but it was a beauty. Got him down inside the 5, which led to a touchdown as well. So you're starting to see and get that chemistry built between receiver and quarterback, and that was key here in the third and fourth quarters, and that's something they can build on going into next week.
Take a break, come back, 44-24, our final. Utah State loses to Texas A&M. Hope to hear from Braden Pagan coming up here in a bit, as well as Bronco Mendenhall on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear football fans, elevate your game with a tough-as-nails Toyota truck. Tacoma's a big-time playmaker. Tundra's a tailgating MVP that works hard and plays even harder. And the 4Runner's a Hall of Famer when it comes to rugged roads. Visit Toyota.com to learn more or check out your local Toyota dealership today. Toyota, let's go places.
Visit your Utah Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
You need another bathroom. You want a back patio retreat. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS number 467014.
With over 20 years of experience in the copier and printer industry, Wasatch Document Solutions is the only authorized Xerox sales agent serving Cache Valley. We offer a full line of Xerox equipment, including management print and network analyst services. We've helped hundreds of businesses over the years, and we can do the same for you. For a free, no-obligation office assessment, please give us a call at 435-787-2101 or check out our website at wasatchds.com.
Welcome back, Kyle Field here in College Station. Utah State loses to Texas A&M 44-22. Joining us now here on the postgame show, brought to you by your local Farm Bureau agent Bruce Jones. Brandon Pagan, wide receiver for this Utah State offense, kind enough to join us. Braden, tough game today, but what was the vibe of the team in the locker room after this one?
It definitely wasn't too happy, but we stick together. We're brothers, and we're going to come back next week and get back to work.
Braden, a lot of man-to-man stuff that you saw out here tonight, and I'm curious, as you start to go down the end of the season, to the middle to the end of the season, your philosophy in terms of trying to beat man coverage.
You just got to win. It's you or him. That's the kind of, I guess you would say, the most disrespectful defense you could play out there is just play man the whole entire game. So we got to take advantage of that opportunity. Run clean, crisp routes, put corners on your routes, and separate.
And I thought you did that there in the third quarter on that touchdown. By the way, how long has it been since you scored a touchdown?
That was the first one.
First one in your college career. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Tell us about that route and tell us about that play.
Playing man coverage again, so I kind of dove in a little bit, got him to bite, and then we popped open. Bryson made a great throw, and it was a good team touchdown.
When you you play on a new team, you play with a new quarterback, how hard is it to develop chemistry so you guys are on the same page? Because I got to imagine that's not an easy thing to do overnight.
It's definitely not an easy thing, but we're not scared of the work. We've been throwing since January over and over and over again. It just takes repetitions. And then in the game, you just learn as you go. You can kind of, when he's scrambling, you can make different moves, and he's got to be on the same page. It's not an easy task, but we're going to get it.
In a game like this, Braden, I'm curious what you feel like there are some of the takeaways that you can build upon as an offense.
We got to watch the tape so I can see more of it, but I think the biggest thing us receivers can do is keep beating man coverage if they want to do that, and then get the ball out and make some plays.
Braden, appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to catching up again here very soon.
Yep, thank you, guys.
There you go, Braden.
Pagan had 2 for 23, including the 16-yard touchdown reception there in the third quarter. And I think that, as he mentioned, he's been throwing with Bryson and the other receivers since January. They're starting to get that chemistry built up. Now it's how do you beat man coverage and how do you protect long enough to let those receivers go to work? And we saw glimpses of that with Brady Boyd. We saw it with Kahanu Davis. We saw it with Braden Pagan. They've got the capability. And I think, what I looked at there in the third and fourth quarters, I think Utah State will be just fine as they get into the Mountain West Conference for sure. And, these guys are just going to continue to build camaraderie together as they have more and more repetitions.
If there's one thing, I think third down conversions kind of start to take care of themselves. Running game gets going. It gives you more second and short, third and short. So I think Utah, I'm not too overly concerned about that. It's probably the pressure, because there were some times in this game where it was just a guy got beat because of just being out physical at the line.
Immediate pressure.
Yeah.
Immediate pressure. I think you're right. I'm anxious to see what the average third down plays were for Utah State.
There were a lot of 3rd and 10s.
I'm guessing it's going to be a 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 on average when you go 2 of 14. And that's, by the way, that's 4 of 26 now on the season for the first 2 games for Utah State. But they've got to be in more 2nd and 3rd and short situations to have more success in that regard. But the beat off the line of scrimmage, that's the part that I'm anxious to talk to Kevin McGivern about next week, to see how they're going to be able to shore that up. Is that a step? Is that just being out physical? What is that? And are you going to need to have a running back or a tight end to help Chip?
Bronco Mendenhall, head coach at Utah State, kind enough to join us here on the postgame show. Coach, what was your message to that team after a tough loss today here at Texas A&M?
The message was really simple. Told them I love them and appreciate them, which I do. And that there's usually just 2 parts that tie to the outcome. Number one, how the coaching staff prepares the team, which is first and foremost from the staff, and then how the players prepare. The individual responsibility is point number 2, and those 2 things coming together really end up leading to the execution and the precision and the consistency and the performance needed. And so I always claim responsibility first. Texas A&M deserves credit. They outplayed us really in all 3 phases from beginning to end. Really unique and challenging environment to play in, but we knew that. I love this team. They're amazing young men, and they try really hard. But we didn't play as clean or as sharp or as productively as we needed to, really in any of the phases today. I do think we battled hard, and I thought they were resilient, and I thought they made a concerted effort in the second half to really finish the game at a higher level than how it started, and that was the basic message.
You know, I thought the same thing. You know, the takeaways that you can take from a game like this, what we saw perhaps into the 3rd and the 4th quarter, the not giving up, absolutely critical. But I think that when you're playing against maybe 2nd and 3rd team guys from a school like this one, that's probably a little bit more indicative of what you might see during the regular season and the conference play. Would you agree with that?
Hard to tell. Again, I've seen the Mountain West Conference. I haven't seen it this year, and I'm not sure, what the talent base and what the teams will look like. But I do know prior to their starting quarterback being hurt, that there was a fight, there was a resilience, there was battling, and there was mindset that was clearly apparent. And so regardless of who came in after their quarterback was hurt, there was a concerted effort that was really noticeable to me. But really, for every play of the game is giving us great feedback of what needs to be worked on, by whom, and how to improve our football team. And so lots of areas to improve is what I saw today.
Another rough day, and it's felt like, you look at a game and you can look at individual moments or just maybe a small collection of moments and say that's where things kind of felt like they got away. The back-to-back-to-back sacks there in the second quarter felt like that's where things started to slip a little bit. When you look, from your perspective, I know you're going to want to look at the film and analyze where those sacks came from, but do you have an opinion on that right now in terms of the inability to protect Bryson Barnes in this game?
Yeah, I think we've seen, obviously when you see it in game 1, then you work diligently on it, you work really hard, and you address it, all week. And if it manifests again in week 2, you have to look at, okay, who are you playing? What's the quality of competition? Are there the same mistakes or are they different mistakes? Are there matchup issues? Are there schematic issues and or other? And there's probably a little bit of all of that. So Texas A&M, their specialty is on third down. I think they're one of the best in college football. And so getting us behind the chains, especially, and playing from behind, allowed some other downs to be more like third down. And, yeah, they're impressive. And we have work to do in terms of protecting our quarterback for sure, and that's causing some of our inconsistencies.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Now 4 of 26 on third down conversions through 2 weeks. Obviously, you're going to have to go back and take a look. I think you're probably 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 or more on average for today's game. What can you do to get more in 2nd, 3rd, and short situations?
Yeah, so obviously there were stretches in there where the run game is absolutely necessary. Some of the RPOs that come off the run game necessary, and then some of the +1 run game besides just giving it to running backs, quarterbacks carrying, and then possession throws, right? Throws that are on time, and again, 1st and 2nd down, really critical for our current team because of the inability right now to really be consistent and effective on 3rd down, just protecting, throwing, catching, and executing in that context.
The defense, you give up 44 points, which is never good, but there were some singular moments I thought that were really good. 2 4th down stops. The offense was struggling in the 2nd quarter, so they were carrying a heavy load there in the 2nd quarter. And I thought there were a lot of really good moments from this defense. And maybe I'm blowing smoke, but it just felt like there were some things to really build on.
There's a mindset and a physicality that is apparent. The execution was inconsistent, and man, critical plays here or there with a couple balls going over our head, or a blitz path that's off and allowing a 1st down on a 3rd down, things like that. This defense wants to be physical. They want to be good. They want to play well. Similar to what we were just saying, the execution, consistency of execution, leverage, as well as just the fundamentals, and that holding from beginning to end throughout the course of the game, we're not there yet. And that inconsistency is really what led to a few more scores than what I thought we were capable of holding Texas A&M to today.
I know you're not into big moral victories, but you get it to 30-14 there on the first drive of the 3rd quarter, and then you get the 4th down stop and get ball at the midfield stripe. And I got to believe that when you talk to the group, you say, hey, listen, we go punch one in there, we got a 1-score game perhaps, and who knows what could happen. Those are some things you can still build on.
Oh, there is plenty of chances in that regard without making it a stretch or trying to exaggerate. And we were thinking already about game management and what we would do in those settings. And it's fun and it's good to be kind of battle your way back into that, especially coming out of halftime. And so, yeah, there are moments, but again, we played exactly where we are and to who we are currently. And it wasn't a mistake, right? Texas A&M played really well, difficult game to play on the road. And that was the result, right? And so there's our feedback, and we have to claim it, address it, and double down and go to work on it in a really challenging week now, because we go right to Air Force, which is, it's football, but it's a whole different kind of football.
Were you able to get any kind of update on Trey Anderson?
I have not. No, and it's always heartbreaking to see anyone go down, especially with a knee, but I have not been updated.
Coach, really quick, you talked a little bit about Air Force, and obviously you got to turn the page here, but you're right. Is that a team that you do some extra work on in the preseason, knowing that they're coming in with that option football game next Saturday night?
Oh, you have to be. You have to do off-season. You have to spend extra time. And having played them so many years in a row at Brigham Young and then at Virginia, Georgia Tech with Paul Johnson was there when we first arrived. So we became, I think, really strong option defenders over that entire time. That doesn't mean we always run the victory side or the correct outcome. But we had a great idea what to do and how to do it. And so that basis gives us a foundation that gives us a little bit faster start. But in addition to that, certainly the off season and the summer is necessary.
Coach, we'll let you go. Thanks for your time, and look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Appreciate you both. Thank you.
You got it, Bronco.
The game is over, and now KVNU Aggie Game Day continues with Aggie Call, the complete recap on all the action of your Utah State Aggies. We want your comments and questions about today's game. The phone line is 435-753-KVNU. The text line is 435-554-1175. Plus, more interviews and insights are coming as we break down the Aggie action with you in the Aggie Nation. It's KVNU Aggie Call with J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes, and Eric Branson.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was not the outcome that I predicted or wanted. down there in College Station. The Aggies dropping it to the Aggies, 44-22. It is now Aggie Call here on KVNU Game Day, or KVNU Aggie Call. The phone line's open right now. We'll get you to the front of the line. Your thoughts, feedback on what you saw, what you want to improve, what you want to see next week against Air Force. The phone line's open right now, 753-5868, 753-5868. Get you to the front of the line. The text line also open. We'll get through those. 435-554-1175. My first thoughts, no PTSD. I decided we're not calling this group therapy tonight. Although, Stockton, you've got your hoodie pulled up. It looks like you might be a little sad panda right cozy now. But feel much better about this than the USC game last year. Positive, felt like the Aggies fought. There is some things to clean up. We'll get into that, some things to celebrate. But, Stockton, first thoughts, the outcome at the Kyle Field in College Station.
As weird as it sounds, I'm actually kind of relieved with the game, just because, we put up points in several different drives. I know the execution was inconsistent, like Bronco was saying, on pretty much all three phases of the ball, but they responded well to, I think, a really damaging second half. That could have gone, or second quarter, excuse me, that could have gone one of two ways. You come out of halftime and you lay and you roll over and die, or you come out and did what they did. They score out of the halftime break. They get the turnover on downs on defense. I know, it didn't turn out to be a comeback like a lot of us wanted, but look, they executed well, and it was refreshing to see a team fight for a win that they were most likely not going to get. That's something that we have been lacking for a little bit, and I think we saw it against USC. I was concerned as well after that second quarter that we were going to see fallout like we did after the USC game, and they were really going to fall apart. They didn't. They responded. I think they built well, and I liked what I'm hearing from everyone after that game, especially Braden Pagan, where he says, the mood's not great. Like, we want to win. We came here to win the game. We're going to go right back to work. Like, these guys didn't come here expecting to lose, and they're fine with however it goes. They wanted to have a legitimate chance and didn't execute the way they wanted to, and they're going to hold themselves accountable for that.
Eric Franson from the Full Court Press joining us here on Aggie Call for football. What did you see from the Aggies as they dropped this one 44-22 in College Station? But definitely a feeling from Stockton, a different vibe than the USC game last year of a pay game, so to speak. $1.6 million the Aggies picked up for this one. And actually pretty proud of them, actually, looking at it.
Yeah, there's definitely good things to take away from this game. I liked their fights. I liked that they kept driving, kept mixing up the play calling even in the fourth quarter, and addressing some of the issues that have been problematic with Utah State not getting separation with their wide receivers. And I know, JD, you probably want to talk about that more later on.
But me and my brother from another mother, Jason Walker, we got into
we had some strong conversations. Yeah. But look, I was impressed with how they continued to fight and continued to engage and work through this game. And I think one of the big things that we were watching for is, will this team look like they want to fight? Will they compete? They're going to be overmatched, but are they going to go out there and try to make something of it? And so that's a good takeaway. The concerning aspects, another week goes by and another 6 sacks are given up. Another week goes by, 11 penalties once again. So there are things that Utah State's doing that are positive that I really like, but there are still some real problematic issues that are being consistent now from week 1 to into week 2.
Former Utah State Aggie and NFL veteran Tyler Larson joining us here on Aggie Call for the season, and appreciate you having you here, sir. And your thoughts on that game. Of course, a pay game, and I'm going to ask you after your initial thoughts, kind of, have you ever been through any of those through your career, and what is it like as a player knowing? Is there a difference for a pay game, or is that just on this side of kind of the viewing screen for us? But first, your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I think that the Utah State Aggies definitely have a run game coming. And I think we need to rely a lot more on Miles Davis and also Jacobs. I think those two are doing a great job. And using less of the reads for the quarterback to keep it. There's nothing that can kill a drive more than a quarterback thinking he can hurry and okey doke the D end, and you lose yards. It kind of makes you stumble a little bit, getting into that second down, third down, making it a little bit longer. But on the defensive side, that was a big offensive line, and having 3 guys rushing, it's a tough game. But I still saw guys flying around. There is a lot of fight. I loved how they responded in that second half coming out. So, yeah, I think that the Utah State Aggies are going to be in a good spot next week. It's just going to be, you got to tape up all those bruises, put your ego aside, and just move on. But to answer your question to the pay games, I always hated that term just because to us it's another game.
Yeah.
Every single time we go out on the field, we expected to win. I mean, all of our pay games, quotation marks, we ended up losing, Auburn by 3. So we were in those games. And it's just every single Saturday, Sunday, whatever, it's whoever comes out there, the best team is for that day is going to win. So you never know when the calls are going to go your way, wind blows some type of way, and you can make a field goal. There's all sorts of things out there that can happen to actually put you in a place to win.
And Coach Mendenhall has been pretty vocal in his recent press conference that he's not maybe one of these a year. Is that what I'm hearing, Eric?
That's what he'd prefer. I know there's 2 of them this year. It will be interesting to see scheduling philosophy into the Pac-12 because you're going to have 5 non-conference games that they'll need to fill. And you'd think one of those is a opportunity to go against a big opponent and earn a paycheck.
We're going to change our verbiage.
Yes. To go out and compete against a P14, we'll just put it that way. But there'll probably be an FCS opponent mixed in there. But 3 other games, you got to fill it up. My hunch would be Utah State will fill a lot of that with their former previous Mountain West compatriots, which I think would be fun because there's established rivalries. It's not that far to travel. I think it'd be good for both programs, but who knows?
So, Tyler, would you be excited for another trip to Laradice?
Yeah, I'd take it.
The interesting response there. Advanced Fireplace and Stove brings you KVNU Aggie Call. Keep your eyes open for Utah's Fireplace Changeout program where you can save money. Call 752-7272 for more information and all the details. And Cache Valley Bank, whether you're looking to build, buy, borrow, grow, Cache Valley Bank is here to help you out with several flexible financial options. We're going to take our first break here on KVNU Aggie Call. Coming back, we'll have more insights, thoughts, and your text messages and phone calls. The line's open right now, 753-KVNU. That's 753-KVNU here on Aggie Call.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. The Labor Day sale is not over. Purple, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy have doubled down and are offering up to $1,500 off, 60-month no-interest financing, and free sheets through Saturday. The only thing they're not offering is no sales tax. So we are. Add no sales tax to the list of offers for the best sale of the year through Saturday, the Labor Day sale. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Life is hard, so making sure you find that perfect woman is important. You need someone that will be by your side through the good and the bad. Once you have found her, show her that she is special with a beautiful diamond ring from Jerix. Yes, it is all about the romance. At Jerix, you won't find a more intimate setting. Where you purchase the ring might not be as important as who you choose to marry, but it's pretty close.
Jerix fine jewelry. Make it special, make it Jerix.
Have you thought about your furnace lately? Of course not. It's hot outside. Now's a great time to start thinking about replacing it or having it serviced for fall and winter. Advanced Heating and Air will help you get some of the industry's best rebates on a new high-efficient York furnace installed in your home. Or one of Advanced Heating and Air's service professionals can service your furnace for the upcoming winter season. Call today, 752-7272, or schedule a free estimate at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
Let us know what you thought of today's game. Call 435-753-KVNU or text 435-554-1175. KVNU Aggie Call returns.
Welcome back to Aggie Call. The phone line's open, 753-5868. That's 753-KVNU. You can also sound off on the Aggie text line, 435-554-1175. That's 435-554-1175. And loading up the text line for a little feedback here on Aggie Call.
First off, 1326. Barnes needs to get rid of the ball way faster. We really missed Ike at safety. Yes, I think the Bryson comment, there's 2 or 3 different things that were going on there. One, it's hard to say he should have been getting rid of the ball faster because he had 0.5 to 0.75 seconds in the pocket for a good 60 to 70% of those snaps. I mean, we had a 3 and out where he was getting hit by one of the most notorious pass rushers in the country within a second and a half of getting the football in his hands. There's not really much you can do on that front. I think where I kind of see Bryson start to struggle is what Tyler brought up earlier is the read pull options and the opportunity for him to pull the ball out and try and run it himself. Bryson's very athletic and he's very talented on the ground, but and we've seen this the last couple weeks, he just tries to do a little too much sometimes on the ground and gets himself and gets the offense in trouble. So it wasn't really about getting the ball out quick for me just because of how the protection was struggling to keep him clean, but it's really about the run game and how he's reading that run game.
So we'll look at that in just a second. If you call 753-KVNU, front of the line, I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. Hi, Aggie Call. You're on the air. Who's this?
This is Gio.
Hey, Gio.
Hey,
how you doing, man?
Good. Calling in from College Station down here.
Ooh, how you doing after that the performance by the Aggies down there at Kyle Field?
Well, I'm a little parched. The humidity is awful. But I'm excited to be on with Mr. Tyler Larson. I've got a great picture of him back when he was a young pup, lined up against my 2-year-old son.
All right, I know who this is, yeah.
Great picture. So thank you for that, Tyler. I know it's been a long time. But anyway, I just wanted to say I feel like with this game that there's stuff to build on here. I feel like this effort probably beats the lower third of our schedule. Middle and up, we got to clean up the penalties. Of course, I was really disappointed to see that continue. I wanted to see more of our run game. It felt like even though it wasn't super spectacularly effective, it was enough to kind of keep things off balance and give Bryson a little more time. I did wonder a little bit where the 3-step drop pass game was. But boy, when Bryson does get time, he can really throw those guys open. I was impressed with his passing in this game. He did struggle a little bit in the run reads, like you mentioned. But overall, I felt it was good. I felt the defense not consistent, but there's something there, guys. I feel like there's a lot more toughness and just overall willingness to work hard with this team. And I'm excited for the rest of the year, even though this wasn't a great outcome. So any updates on any we had Trey Anderson go down. Did we lose anybody else today?
I don't think I saw anybody else go down. Coach didn't mention anything and didn't have any information on his pressers.
Yeah, Brevin Hamlin went down at one point, but he was back in the game later. I think Trey was really the only one that went off the field that it was clear he wasn't coming back.
Okay, well, hope he's back soon. And, boy, when it comes to consistency, I'm hoping our young punter can get there too, because, boy, he's got a leg, but it's on again, off again a little bit. So
he did have kind of that short one, Gio, but average, I believe, 40.4 after that. So he did all right. Yeah. He had that one that it was kind of, I think it only went 24 yards or so was that punt?
27.
27, yeah. But Gio, quick question for you, Gio. What did you see any other Aggie fans down there at College Station?
You know what? I've been on a lot of roadies, and there were fewer of us Blue Aggies down there than usual, but there were a few. So
we had the faithful make that trip down there.
That's great.
I can tell you everyone in that stadium was an Aggie fan, though.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that. The Aggies are going to win today for sure. I was like, yep.
I've been telling everyone that'll listen.
Hey, Gio.
Well, You are a prognosticator.
Gio, thank you so much for the call, man. Safe travels to you. Aggies on the road down in College Station at Kyle Field. If you want to get on the air and give us your feedback on the Aggies' performance against Texas A&M, I think I just avoided another Aggie on Aggie conundrum. 753-KVNU, that's 753-5868, or the text line open at 435-554-1175. Stockton, to go back to that text where we're talking about Bryson getting rid of the ball way faster, that was probably a little bit of the conversation that Jason Walker and I had in the conference room. KVNU Logan, 102.1 FM, 610 AM at 3:03 in the afternoon, 73 degrees out there, a little legal ID check. But it was something we talked about, and the read of it was just like the timing. I've moved on from the timing of the offensive line because Tyler kind of addressed that yesterday or last time with they've got a clock in their head, and there's no way the quarterback can have it. But that timing, Eric, where we saw Bryson in the pocket, sometimes the longer throws, and when he had to go down the field, he's really got to use his momentum and his strength. But I think there needed to be more three-step drops and timing and things like that, of course, as a Monday morning quarterback. What did you see out there?
Well, I thought it was really interesting to hear Braden Pagan after the game. And he talked about there's no more disrespectful thing for a wide receiver to see a defense just do man coverage the whole game. And they didn't need to switch. Texas A&M didn't need to do anything different because the Utah State wide receivers, they didn't really get open a lot. And so when you're a quarterback, there's a lot of stress and commentary on Barnes holding onto the ball for too long. But he's holding on to it because he's trying to figure out if he's got an open wide receiver. And I think that was it's been a bit of a struggle that these wide receivers, the two true wide receivers that Utah State has playing right now, aren't really doing a great enough job creating separation, either sticking their foot in the ground and changing direction or being physical. And so that's kind of a growing issue in the first 2 weeks. But I also thought it was interesting that it was in the fourth quarter that we finally started to see more spread concepts that were being called, which created space and more opportunity. And then we did see some ways that Utah State was attacking space and giving guys some chances. So I think it's a play calling thing. I think it's also an issue with the wide receivers not getting that separation. And I think that Utah State has a burner. They have a guy that can get separation and has speed to get downfield that would make defenses respect the deep pass a little bit more, but he's not healthy yet. I hope that he'll be healthy by next week, but I don't know his status. And that's Demick Starling. He's that guy that can really provide that opportunity for Utah State.
And then by the time we saw Davis get separation on there, the Aggies had moved in, Texas A&M had moved in their secondary unit and stuff to play the field, their backups and stuff like that. But still, when you look at an SEC program like Texas A&M, their second string might be on par with some of the top programs in the Mountain West, if not even better. Tyler Larson, with the talent
I
you see there?
absolutely agree, yeah. Just especially with NIL and everything like that. Starters in the Mountain West are leaving just to be a backup so they can get more money. And that's just, the layout of all college football right now. And, yeah, once you get that secondary or the second group of guys, it's not going to change much in the SEC. It really isn't. And I think that, I think it's a good thing of what we saw in that fourth quarter. Once all their starters were out, we were – competing against them a little bit more and getting more open looks and stuff like that. So I think that is a good point that's what we're going to be seeing with the Mountain West.
The point of contention, and I really tried to separate this because I was looking at it, and if you look, I saw magic. I think magic can happen. I do get a little grief for believing in Santa Claus, but I believe it on any given Sunday. Things can happen. Mm-hmm. I watched the Music City Miracle. I watched Matt Hasselbeck say, I want the ball and we're going to score. And then we threw a pick six to end it in Green Bay. So I know a bunch of stuff can change on that. And Jason and I were talking, and the separation was a thing. And I said, okay, well, if your receivers aren't getting separation, I got to go to the next management group up the chain of command to the coordinator and be like, hey, your receivers aren't getting separation. We need to do something to change up this game plan to make sure that we are using our players to the best of their ability. And then we saw the spread come out, and it widened out a little bit. It gave them. So if you give Jacobs, if you give Davis, if you give Boyd that open chance to make somebody miss, you can move. And we started to see that. And that was the kind of frustration I saw in the third quarter. We are keeping to do the same thing. And, those drops under center and moving and everything with Bryson, he was just under constant pressure. This next one, I'm going to ask for your kind of insight on this. Because the balance, and I don't think I've explained this to you, or we can explain this now. I really try to realize in my heart that my 20-year-old son is the same age as these young men playing this game. Mm-hmm. So that kind of puts my half dad hat, half Aggie fan hat, half radio guy hat on. So I always look at kind of the play and not the person, and know that it's just a performance. And we all have bad days and good days. So this one coming in from 0783, kind of my disclaimer. It was frustrating how number 56 played giving up sacks, but more frustrating that he played better while he played at Weber State against us. We also have moments of frustration with Javen Jacobs and Miles Davis playing well for other teams against us. The world of just cheering for and against the laundry. I get a little bit of that. We'll take it to the first thing. I know Eichhorn, I believe, had a pretty rough series on that one. Of course, that defensive end,
monster.
Pretty monster on that.
Again, one of the most notorious pass rushers in the country.
Yeah, and it went 1, 2, 3, like TKO like that. The first time, okay, play. The second time you're going, all right, we need to pay some attention. The third time you're going, all right, why wasn't there some sort of scheme or form adjustment to this? Can you kind of walk us through, just because me on this side looking at it, and Jake, great player, and will bounce back. I know that, but you're giving up that's got to be rough for fans to see, but also for him to see that. But you as a player, can you give us some insight on how a player would feel that, and then also looking at it as a player going, does there need to be a scheme adjustment or something moved or help or a chip or something?
Yeah, as a player, when that is happening, it's huge to be able to have the mentality of next play, so you got to snap and clear. Because the more you start thinking about it, the more you're going to get yourself in. You're going to get in your head. And I mean, being in a crazy environment like that, you can't hear the cadence. You have to look at the ball. You're snapping the ball, and then you, as a tackle, you have to hurry and snap your head back out to the defensive end. It's not environmentally friendly for an offensive tackle to be able to block someone like that. So once you start seeing someone getting really hot as a defensive rusher, a lot of things that you can do is, as a center, I would call protections over that way if I knew that there were no pressures coming the other way. And so you can just give, you'll have 3 guys over to 2, and you can actually give some help to that tackle. So there's so many things that you can do to help prevent that, but you got to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable. And so being able to just void everything that happened that previous play, get back at it. And I mean, the speed, that defensive end had crazy speed off the ball. And like I was saying, it's really hard when you're in that silent cadence and you can't really hear the, quarterback, you can't hear the center. You're in your own world out there. So it's a tough position to be in, but I like him a lot. I like Eichhorn. I think he's going to bounce back. He's a very good player. I've met him in spring. He's very hungry. He wants to learn. He wants to always better himself. So I think he's going to be fine.
And then now take it to the next level, does the offensive coaching staff look at that, like the offensive line coach and the thing in game, the ability to call to maybe I'm going to just nonchalantly my novice, so you can knock me on top of the head. Do you run a Sturzer? Put him on that end to maybe chip before he goes out or something to help, or a running back or something, because
throw a chip out there. They were blitzing very rarely. They were rushing those 4 because they had confidence in them. And, throw a chip, say, you know what, we know that they're not blitzing. Let's slide the line away. Right side's doing okay. I don't know who the protection coordinator is. It could be the offensive line, it could be McGiven, I don't know. But that should be a conversation at halftime or whenever they have a chance to actually make an adjustment.
Now, 13:26 just coming in on this. During that sequence, after the second sack, if we would have used a timeout to reset there, is that something as a player, and looking at a player mindset here, is that something that helps you reset with that snap, put it away, and then you go back? Or would a timeout just kind of give you a moment to just kind of marinate on it?
I think that. I think when you call a timeout, you all go into the huddle on the sideline. Guys are kind of looking at you, and you start thinking, okay, what are these guys thinking? So I think it's better to just continue that drive.
Eric, I felt like that was kind of a momentum shift there. The Aggies had a little success moving the ball, kind of going down, but then that kind of, for me, at that point in the second half, I know we were winding down a little bit, that kind of seemed like it to be a little bit of a momentum shift there that kind of stalled out the Aggies offense for a little bit.
Yeah, and that was just, they had a great player that just dialed up something special. And sometimes you get that when you play that level of opponent. And he was doing it, I know we're kind of picking on Eichhorn here and how he gave it up, but that Cassius, and I can't remember his last name, he was doing it from different spots. It wasn't always from the same spot. Like, part of his pressure was coming from the inside, part of it was coming out on the edge. So he was, yes, it was generally that side of the line, but he was a special player just making some special plays.
Yeah, I think
there's a number of things that happened there, but that was that defensive line saying, all right, we're going to impose our will here. We're going to back you up. And that was a drive that went for negative yards for each play. It was unreal.
Yeah, it was a hard one to see there. But I think the level of competition, that young man on Texas A&M, he's a monster. I mean, I'd be shocked if we don't see him playing on Sundays. I mean, that's the legitimate, the way I'm trying to pull up is, Cassius Howell. Let's see if we can get some stats from last year on this young man. Like, he had 9 sacks in 2023, 4 last year. Looks like he had a little injury problem, but definitely somebody who's on the thing. 6'2", 250 pounds, man, coming at you on that line. That's pretty impressive. If you'd like to sound off, you can text in or call in. The text line open, 435-554-1175. That's 435-554-1175 for the text line. Phone lines open, get you to the front of the line, 753-5868. That's 753-KVNU. The Sportsman's been providing Cache Valley with an extensive variety of all-season sporting goods since 1947. Visit them on Main Street in downtown Logan. And our friends at Renaissance Ranch realize that if someone you know is struggling with addiction, you don't have to find it alone. There's someone there for you, a staff that knows exactly what you're going through. Learn more at renaissanceranch.net. More of your feedback and phone calls as Aggie Call continues here on KVNU.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit LSSINS.com.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
This Utah State Aggie broadcast is brought to you by Advanced Fireplace and Stove. Comfort is their business. On News Talk KVNU, where our true colors have always been Aggie blue and white.
Welcome back to KVNU Aggie Calls. Stockton Jukes, Tyler Larson, Eric Franson, and JD Walker hanging out with you. And I got to tell you guys, a lot different kind of feeling. Didn't break out group therapy yet this year here on Aggie Call because, Eric, I kind of feel like there's good building blocks to hear it. And I think John Miller said it the best in the post-game show. And remembering that quote right now, pulling it up as we're doing it. But he said something really cool that kind of stuck out with me that said, we're going to have to flush this one, fix the fixable, and go back to the drawing board and go to work. Much different kind of feeling and attitude than that 3 a.m. Aggie call against USC last year. Kind of shows the distance of the program and that there's optimism and hope moving forward and some positive building blocks.
Yeah, I think there are positive building blocks. I know it's a loss and you tend to focus on the negative and what went wrong. And that's, commonplace. We all do that. I mean, how do you get better if you don't figure out how you messed up? But I think that when you look at this football team, I think that we see some opportunities in the run game. I think there's a good two-headed monster for Utah State with Jacobs and Davis. I interested to see what the game plan looks like going forward. I know it seems like in the first two games, for much of these two games, we've seen an offensive mindset to go more of like a heavy package, utilize the tight ends as extra blockers, 2 running back, even 3 running back sets. It seems like the mindset is we want to go power. But then in the fourth quarter, it's like a realization has come on, like maybe it's not quite working as well as we had hoped. So let's try to spread things out a little bit more. If that was just to mix things up in the fourth quarter at Texas A&M, that could be one thing. But if it's indicative of what the future could look like for Utah State, that could be interesting. Because we saw, you look at the game tapes for last year, watching Bronco Mendenhall, through about 3 or 4 games, how they approached games was totally different in the last half of the season than it was in the first half of the season. His coaching staff is pretty good at evaluating their players in real time and their system and then realizing, you know what, we just don't have the right personnel to run this style, so we need to change it. And so were we seeing that in real time? I don't know. It's still a little bit early to tell right now, but I think there are some positive things to look for. Utah State still needs some extra guys in there to make things happen. If there was a comment about Ike Larson. Would he have helped today? He probably would have. And it'd be great to have Ike Larson on the field helping Utah State. So I hope that he takes care of whatever he needs to take care of to get back in the good graces of this team because they could use him. But I think it's also clear that they're not just going to overlook some things just to get him back either. So I hope Ike takes care of what he needs to take care of to rejoin this team because they could use him.
Yeah, some of those deep balls, you saw some of that. There was some space being made back there. A question asked in the conference room. I said, hey, does he have that speed? And I got an answer, a yes there. Stockton Jukes, some of the positive things that we saw from this building. You came back, you had to go let your pup out. And you came back to the radio ranch, and you had a smile on your face, which, we didn't see very often last season and stuff. But Eric brings up a great point about Coach Mendenhall last year in New Mexico.
Yes.
Really saw kind of, and like we want to see in college basketball, too. As the season goes, you want to peak, towards midseason, the end. And we saw the Lobos kind of do that last year with Coach Mendenhall.
We experienced it firsthand in Logan. Yeah, we saw him do it to us when we were up by multiple scores in the third quarter. I've said this, I think, a couple times today on Twitter and earlier in the show, but it just is so refreshing to see a team go out in a game where, listen, you are 33-point dogs going into this game. You're probably not going to win. You're playing against one of the top 25 teams in the country, one of the better teams in the SEC this season. And like we were saying a minute ago, too, their second string is probably on par with the top half of the Mountain West. So having that kind of experience and competition is going to teach them a lot about themselves, but it also taught us a lot about how competitive they're going to be, how physical they're going to be, how they're going to finish games, how they're going to compete even when no one thinks they're going to win the game except for that locker room. And it's just nice to see that these guys want to go play football, not just show up and wear the jersey and do whatever else comes with being on the team, but they're actually going out there and playing hard-nosed football against a team that has them beat in every phase of the game. And they're still trying. They're still showing moments of really good execution. And even though it was inconsistent, even though they had all those penalties that they really do need to clean up, and even though there were still issues on third down, it was against a very formidable opponent, and they showed moments of what they can be once we get into the conference schedule, which is not going to be nearly as competitive as Texas A&M.
Tyler Larson, true or false? Utah State Aggies did not play like a 33-point dog at any point on College Station Field on Kyle Field today.
I think it's true. I think that, we were able to move that ball every once in a while, and then we had a penalty, sack here and there. I think that we were out there and we were showing that we could compete with those guys.
Eric, true or false? I'm going to ask you the same. Was that a 33-point dog? Did they act like it out there on the field?
No. Yeah, they punted a bunch of times. Yes, they had penalties. They gave up sacks. There were warts on for this game. But Utah State, they made it a little bit uncomfortable for Texas A&M a couple of times. They stopped their drives. They forced them. Texas A&M felt like fourth down conversions. We'll get it. And Utah State stopped them a couple of times. Utah State stopped them in scoring territory. So defensively, Utah State also picked the ball. They got an interception, which Avenger's credited with the INT, but Miller deserves a ton of credit for the pressure he put on the quarterback for that play. So there were good things that happened for Utah State that Utah State Aggie fans should be pleased with. And look forward to what happens next week with Air Force.
That would be John Miller from Oregon, the great state of Oregon. We're not going to talk about the team he played there before he came to the Aggies because we don't mention that team. But he got my game ball today. 2 sacks, a hurry on the QB during that interception, 7 tackles, and we saw him kind of come into his own last season as he moved forward. But man, big game from him. And this is the next one. We're gonna jump in the DeLorean with Doc Brown, and we're gonna go 3 years in the future, and we're gonna reset the same game. But we know the recruiting process that's going, and we know how Coach Mendenhall has set things up. The difference between that is there's depth in this Aggie team at positions after Coach Mendenhall's going. You think there's a closer showing? You think if this team is in a Mendenhall kind of, blueprint, he's going to build depth, the next man up and stuff. My opinion is that in 3-4 years, maybe even quicker, we're seeing a deeper team that's able to hang on to some of these, P4 programs and maybe even make some bigger noise there.
Yeah, I think they could. I know, Tyler, you talked about how NIL is shifting depth for some of these power programs. It's also shifting some opportunities in G6 level, because a lot of these guys for Utah State competing right now, these were guys who just didn't have opportunities at these other places. So they're transferring just because they want to play. And so Braden Pagan scored his first touchdown, his collegiate touchdown. Miles Davis, he got some things happening where he wasn't getting those opportunities at BYU. Brady Boyd had some nice catches today, nice plays today. So he was at Texas Tech before. So we're seeing this. It's an interesting shift that's going on. But while it hurts to lose some of your players to these other programs who end up just being guys on the depth chart, you're also benefiting from guys who get recruited over and they just want to play at the end of the day. And so they're finding opportunities to do that. And Utah State is still going to be a destination for those kinds of guys.
You think we're going to see Bronco bring that depth in? Players want to play. I know a lot of the flashes on players, Tyler, that want to play for NIL, but that's not everybody. You can't paint everybody with a broad brush. There are players that want to get out there and compete and do things. And yes, NIL is a part, and every right for an athlete to benefit off that. I mean, the NCAA has been making billions, so it's a balance effect. And as the pendulum swings one way and it swings back the other, there's going to be a happy medium in there. But Coach Bronco is going to attract players that are going to be rewarded for their play with NIL. But there are players out there that want to work hard and be a part of the team and have a shot to play college football at a high level.
Yeah, no, I think that first year you always have to establish the culture and grow it. Second year, you're going to keep the guys that are returning, and then it's just going to continue. It's a snowball effect. So, yes, it takes a little bit of time, but once you start being able to bring in more players, they can sense what the culture is. They can sense how Bronco works. That's when everything can take off, and it will take off quick, I think. I think it will be within the next year or two.
I really think we have a blueprint, Stockton. How do you feel? 3 years, 4 years down the road, the Aggies are playing one of those games, opportunity games, as we're going to call them. We're changing our verbiage here because Tyler's just a big dude, too, and I don't want him to put me through that wall, pancake block me or something. But Stockton, 3-4 years, Coach Mendenhall's depth. How do you think this plays out?
I think it's probably closer maybe by a possession. I don't think Utah State is in half a decade going to be in a position to beat a ranked SEC team. But I do think that we're on the right path. And you and I talked about this on the pregame show, but Utah State athletics in general, we've been a little bit spoiled on coaching turnover lately. Basketball, everything has worked out beautifully every time we have a coaching change. Manny Martins comes into this USU soccer program 5 years ago and takes them from the bottom of the Mountain West to now back-to-back Mountain West champions. Completely renovated field, lights in there, hosting NCAA tournament games. Rob Nielsen doing dang near the same thing with USU volleyball. Looking forward to their game tonight, but that's not how it goes. We've been extremely lucky for that to be the way that it goes with some other sports here at Utah State. And I think that's kind of the expectation is, we got a new coach now, everything's going to magically kind of turn around and become great. But no, like Tyler said, it takes a few years to really set that culture in and get the guys to buy in and get people to stay and spend their careers here growing through that system. So I think that we're on the right path. And I think that, if Bronco continues to kind of get the culture of this team moving in the right direction and really settles in here and takes control of this program, we could be in for a good run under Bronco. That being said, one of the things that I was concerned about back in October when the rumors were starting to come out about talking to Bronco about the position is, he's several years into his coaching career, and there's a possibility he's not going to be here for too long before he looks to kind of call it a career as a coach. But there's also a chance where this turns into something, long and beautiful, and he retires here as an Aggie legend. So we're still trying to figure out which way exactly it's going to go, but the signs early on are good. There's just a lot more to build and find out.
Okay, Pete Carroll's like 99 years old. Coach Mendenhall does not get fired up like Pete Carroll, like calm, cool, collected. I've joked that the world could be ending, and Coach Mendenhall could come across from me, Tyler, and say, JD, we have a game plan. We're going to execute this game plan, and it's going to be I believe in my people. I love my people, and we're going to do this. And I've heard corny. I've heard cheesy. But I like it. I feel like, Tyler, it really, on the other side, it's how he connects with his players. And we live in a day and age where authenticity is like 50-50. Is it AI or is it not? Coach Bronco Mendenhall is not AI. When he talks about loving his players and that, I feel that's a true statement. How does that, as a former player, somebody who's been in a locker room right up the hill here at Merlin Olsen Field, when you hear a coach speak about his players the way Bronco Mendenhall does, how does that make you feel as a person and a player?
As a person, it gets me excited for those guys because you can tell he is a person who will fall on the sword for his guys. That the team is going to have confidence. And as a player, that is what you want in a coach because, if he's going to take all the heat, he's going to be able to stick up for you. You're going to be able to go into the film room, see your mistakes, build, and not having all the media come crashing down on you. So I really like Bronco the way he handles a lot of things. I feel like Gary Anderson did the same thing. And there's that, Gary and Bronco are two different guys, but they kind of had the same type of mentality when it comes to wanting to be a player's coach and sticking up for his players.
Eric, Tyler just said something. Confidence. Do you feel that right now? Even after an Aggies loss there at Kyle Field, I feel like that might be the little bit that may be the difference between the 2024 Aggies and 2025 Aggies. Confidence in the scheme, confidence in the team, confidence in their coach, confidence in the mission that they're working out. We saw how they worked in the offseason. And I feel like that might be the change. You know, we reference USC because that was the game last year that kind of sticks with us when we think about losing a Power 4 game. But confidence.
I think that you can kind of sense from the players that they're frustrated that they lost and how they lost. But they know that in that they were competing and they were so trying and they felt like they could do some things. Because we've heard post games where the players are just like, do I have to be here and answer these questions? I just want to go home. You know, this was an embarrassing loss. This was tough. Let's just get out of this. But these players are like, they're mad that they lost. And that's what you want. You want them to be mad that they lost because they want to get better and they want to compete and they want to win. And I think that this game showed us that this team has fight in them. I think it shows that they can make some adjustments. It shows they still have a lot of things to work on. Don't get me wrong. But I think it shows that this is a team that's going to make some noise this year and be kind of interesting to watch as the season continues.
Stockton, confidence. Do you feel like that's coming from this Aggie team from top to bottom?
Yes. I think there were moments where they kind of second-guessed themselves a little bit just because of how flustering the environment can be at Kyle Field. I mean, they broke out Mo Bamba in the second quarter. Mo Bamba at Kyle Field is a lethal combination for a visiting team. But it's I do think there's confidence building. I also want to touch on this last part of the text from 0783. I don't think we really got to it. But talking about how, you know, some of these players for Utah State played better games against us in years past. They were playing against Utah State. They were not playing against number 19 Texas A&M. I think that's important to kind of keep in mind. And the context of the game, the opponent. But I don't want it to get lost that we had a lot of positive moments in that game. And especially the biggest standout part of the game to me is you get punked in the second quarter. You give up 20 points. You go negative 15 yards on offense, and you come out of halftime and you score it within 2.5 minutes. And then you get a turnover on downs across the 50 on your opening defensive drive. You didn't let that get in your head and ruin the rest of your season. They responded to that. They executed the way that they wanted to out of the break. You're probably coming out with some sort of a script or an idea of what you want to do out of the halftime break just so that you can kind of get into a rhythm. And they went through it as good as you can. I mean, Pagan brings in a ball in the corner of the end zone after taking a finger to the eye. They didn't stop trying. And that's something that I think tells me a lot of what I wanted to know about this team this year is they didn't stop competing in that game, even when they gave up 20 points in the second quarter and went negative 15 yards on offense.
I feel like we could be in the final minutes of a game this season, no matter who the opponent, on the road, at home, a Coach Mendenhall team. I feel like the Aggies are going to be competing until that final gun, and I feel like that's a team that we can get really excited about, knowing that this is going to take a little process. We're going to have ups and downs and bumps along the road, but feeling that confidence. Primrose Home and Health Hospice, exceptional home health care in the comfort of your home, big enough to care for quality, small enough to actually care. And Cafe Sabor, that has that local special on Thursday. All 8 locations, huge burritos, endless chips, and a soda. Only $7.95 for Cafe Sabor. Proud sponsors of KVNU Aggie Call. We'll come back with more of your texts and phone calls. The phone number to call, 753-5868. That's 435-753-5868. And the text line open, and we'll get to a couple of texts stacking up there, 435-554-1175 as Aggie Call continues here on KVNU.
It's time to make the outdoor living improvements you've talked about. Cast-A-Lite in Logan has everything you need to turn your backyard get-together into a backyard event. If you need pavers for a walkway, a retaining wall for your garden, or to reshape a flower bed, or a fire pit to roast marshmallows, think Cast-A-Lite. Their experts will reduce your DIY stress for brick, block, rock, paver, and tile. Go where the pros go. Online at castalite.com.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah gold medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a heat and glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
The home for Aggie sports. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to Aggie Call here on KVNU 1021 FM, 610 AM, and streaming around the world to Aggie fans at kvnutalk.com. The text line open 435-554-1175. That's 554-1175 to hit up the Aggie Call text line, and the phone line always open here at the studio for Aggie fans. 753-KVNU, that's 753-5868. 9315 letting us know that the Ag Show on X donated $1 to the Big Blue Club for every point scored against A&M and matching that. So thanks, 9315. Also reading to hear from that from 9315, too many sacks, 11 penalties. Again, not a good thing. The bright spot was the defensive battle on the side of the ball. Looked like a G4 program and a higher or highest G6 teams on defense. I did like to see not so many injuries in this game due to being battle ready. Tyler, does that make a difference when it comes to practice? If you have, from all intents and purposes, we've heard everybody say that what Coach Mendenhall puts them through is going to be really hard things and one of the hardest things ever. Does being built like that help prepare you for combat on the field like this?
I think so. Yeah. Being able to push yourself through training camp kind of starts building up, I would say, scar tissue throughout your body. I don't think that you need to let up and take it easy. Maybe later in the season when you're starting to get into more games. But I don't think that is a comparison of, oh, you pushed him too hard, that's why we're getting injuries. It's just there's guys flying around on the ground. You just never know what's going to happen around you.
Yeah, it's just Trey Anderson's injury. Just Barnes, they were kind of running up the middle, and then he just got kind of rolled up on the back of his leg. It's one of those things you really can't prepare for, right?
You can't at all, yeah. I mean, you're blocking a 300-pound guy trying to push him down the field, and then, you don't know what's happening behind you. I mean, you can try to prevent it by flexibility, stretching, all that stuff, but, I mean, if someone lands on you the wrong way, you can't do anything about it.
Total squirrel moment, and I'm totally sorry for this, but you are the offensive line coach for Green Canyon. We talked about that a little bit earlier on Aggie Call. Does Dakota get rewarded for pancaking his guy 15 yards down the field?
Yeah. Are we talking about the personal foul one or the one before that?
Well, that one, I think they just called on him because he's a big guy.
No, I after that, he came off the field, I said, hey, I'm not mad at you. Just keep bringing the physicality. But, yeah, no. If you can get a guy down the field 15 yards and put him on his back, I mean, yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed in high school sports, it tends to be the bigger guys do not get the benefit of the call sometimes. It's like, they're like, no. The fact that the kid probably weighed $125 across from him.
I mean, it's just bully ball. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, but anyway. So Stockton, thinking about this, getting into some game balls. Or actually, let's grab a couple more of these text lines real quick. 1326, can you grab one?
Yeah, we've got two more from 1326. Should we have used one of our timeouts in the first half, or did it not matter? And do you agree with the decision to go for two after the first touchdown, or does that hurt momentum in the next drive? So the first one about the timeout, I don't really have any issues with the clock management today. I think that maybe you can try and use a timeout to generate some sort of offensive momentum, but the way that second half was going, negative 15 yards net on offense, and Texas A&M getting 3 and outs back and forth and getting the ball back and scoring within a couple minutes. I think it's fine to let that run out and kind of reset at halftime because you don't want to give A&M another opportunity to score, basically. That just was not your half on offense, and so I'm okay with, or not your quarter, I'm okay with getting off the field and kind of letting that quarter go, especially given how they responded at the beginning of the third quarter. I think that's kind of the right way to manage it.
And before we get to the second half, Eric, I think in the second half, there was a question, there was a extra point attempt that they called a timeout on. Do you put that under clock management or just situation stuff happens?
Yeah, situation. I think it was Utah State used up 2 timeouts kind of early in the second half. One of those was on the extra point situation, the 2-point try. But I was actually going to ask Tyler, I mean, just this team seems like they want to go for 2. Like, they seem pretty aggressive on chasing points so far this season.
I'm all for the aggression. I don't know if it's not trust in the kicker or if it's actually because they want to be aggressive. I was all for it when I saw them lining up. Granted, last week they came out with the same formation, so maybe if we're going to do some type of trick play, try something else because it looked really the same and they were ready for it. But I love the aggression trying to go for 2.
I think when you're that big of a dog, too, you're 33, 34-point dog, you got to scrape points any way you can. I mean, that extra point per drive, that could help down the road. I mean, obviously it didn't really end up mattering today. Utah State lost by 22. But that also, doing that and executing those kind of plays against an SEC defense, against an SEC special teams unit, stuff like that, that's going to give you the experience and the confidence to run it later in the conference schedule when you're playing a New Mexico for a conference standing. That is going to matter so much more down the road. And in this game, obviously, you'd like to win. You'd like to upset everyone. You'd like to turn some heads nationally. This still went better than it should have gone for Utah State. If you look at the numbers, only the numbers, that's why you don't play football on paper. But I'm having a hard time having an issue with really anything they did there because I think that you have to be aggressive when you are expected to lose by that much, and you have to get points any way you can. Plus, it pays those dividends down the road. So I don't really have an issue with it at all.
That first touchdown drive, that was a trick play, right? Wasn't to Garcia?
Yeah, it was a reverse to Anthony Garcia.
The wide receiver quarterback extraordinaire.
His first throwing touchdown as a college player. So it was good for him. Yeah.
It was great for him. We will not comment on
it almost didn't get there.
The prettiness of the past, but it got there. It got the job done. Yeah.
Hey, you know what I say on the golf course, man? There's no pictures on the scorecard.
With that, Miles Davis, you could say a stiff wind in the other direction. That might have been an incomplete pass, but Miles getting down low and Anthony Garcia doing it. Did not see him being involved in the offense that way, but really cool to see any man up there for the Aggies. Next up on the text line, we got 5454. This is going to be a little bit of a disclaimer, 5454, maybe tongue-in-cheek sarcasm. Tyler, I'm going to let you answer this one because 5454, he could probably pancake me through a wall. 4545 says, did our left tackle have money on the spread, or is he a BYU plant? Not for me. That is not the last 4 digits of my number.
No. Eichhorn, he is all for the team. Like I said, it was a tough environment. You're going against one of the best pass rushers in college football. You're in the silent cadence. You don't know when the ball's being snapped. Then you got to snap your head back out there. It's a tough situation. And I think that we could have had a better protection plan, knowing that he's there. So, I mean, you got to give him some slack. It's a tough thing to do in that type of environment.
And I'm going to guess that he's analyzing it more than his coaches will, than anybody else will. He's already breaking it down and already did after the play on the sideline. Yeah. He's thought about it more than we as Aggie fans will ever spend thinking about it. And just knowing that, we all have performances in life where sometimes you put your best effort out and, the chips don't just fall your way. Yep. Sometimes you got to fold. Yep. And then you come back, and it's that consistency to come back. And I don't think a Coach Mendenhall-led team, the camaraderie that I've also seen with the teammates, I don't know if you've felt that too. It really feels like you're talking about a band of brothers when Bryson or Gabe talks about the team or anybody else talks about how they're there to encourage each other and pick each other up. I I believe Jake's going to bounce back and be just fine. Playing against an all-world athlete, you're going to have a bad day. Like, it's just going to happen. And not every day when you go out to perform are you going to perform amazingly, even if you give your all. So I think we're going to see that turn out, and I guarantee the person that's going to be working hardest is going to be Jake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's be honest, too. We're not a threat to BYU in football right now. We're not going to play them on the football field in who knows how long. We're not in the same conference. We don't affect how their schedule is going to go.
They're scared.
Yeah, no, I love the dedication to the rivalry. Heaven knows that's my favorite rivalry, and I.
Stockton's little sister just started down at BYU this week. So
I'm trying to be nice about it, but I cannot stand the school down south. There's no reason that they would plant someone on our offensive line.
Yeah,
there's no real threat there. Yeah, it would be funny, but just because Eichhorn's a BYU transfer and he had a bad game, I don't think that we have to hold that against him. I need everyone to take the same approach to these guys that I'm taking with Tyler Algier, where, yeah, he was a Cougar, but he's not anymore, and that's what matters.
It's definitely, I say this a couple times, fan, short for fanatic. There was a time and day, if you were not a Seahawk, I didn't care. When Max Unger, this is how much of a big guy I'm a fan of. Max Unger, loved him. Drafted with the 60th pick by the Seahawks. It was Christmas. I thought it was I had a duck on the Hawks. I loved it. Now I have progressed to the fact to where I get really excited about watching these guys play. We saw Horton from Colorado State, the wide receiver, last year. I think he was injured during the Aggies game, but following him, and now he made the 53-man roster for the Seahawks out of there. Ricky White Jr. on the practice squad for the Seahawks. Other Mountain West guys, and of course, Craig Hislop here does sports, Aggie legend. Craig here is amazing. One of my favorite people here at the Radio Ranch. The day before the draft, Will's a Raiders fan, Will Philwright, and I'm a Seahawks fan. And so we asked Craig, all right, Craig, where's Jalen going? And he goes, just for you two, the Chiefs. And 24 hours later, he goes to the Chiefs. So J.D. Walker is now a Chiefs fan when Jalen Royals is on the field. He's also a Jordan Love fan. And, if you guys didn't know, any field that Bobby Wagner steps on, I'm going to be a big fan of.
Yep.
So game balls as we go around the room. Stockton, I'm going to start with you if you want to give out your game balls.
Yeah, I think I was actually kind of under the radar surprised with Javen Jacobs. I agree with what Tyler said at the top of the show. I feel like we need to give him more touches. He's being underused. He was someone that I thought was one of my most impressive opponents last year, especially what he did in the second half as a backup for New Mexico against us last year. So I'd like to see him get a little more, but I think he did well with a couple of his touches today. I want to give another one probably to Avenger, just for really sticking with that play at the end and getting a takeaway for Utah State, getting them a positive to take away on that game. And then just a game ball to the coaching staff in general for not taking their foot off the gas despite being down 22 points, despite going in there as 34-point dogs. That was an effort game that we saw from Utah State, and an effort that I am not sure that we've seen from a Utah State football team in a couple years. So I'm pleased, despite the fact that we lost by 22 points. I'm happy with what the building blocks we're coming away with are.
I got you, Stockton. Handing out the game balls here on Aggie Game Day. Still time to get your thoughts in. If you want to hand out some game balls, 435-554-1175 for the text line. If you want to call in and talk to our smiling faces, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. Tyler Larson, game balls that you would like to give out today.
Yeah. And
sorry for my chicken scratch over there. I see you got my notes.
No, you're good. Yeah. I'm making sure I get these names right. But I wanted to give Junior C, when Trey Anderson went down, having that next man up mentality. When he went in, I was really focused in on that right tackle spot, and I think he did a really good job being able to hop in. And I mean, I didn't really see too much pressure on that side. So,
and you didn't hear his name called.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that he deserves a game ball for sure. I mean, obviously, I'm sure someone else is going to bring John Miller up, but I think he had a great game. But yeah, those are my two.
Eric Franson?
I want to give one to Brady Boyd on offense and wide receiver. I think that he was stifled a little bit earlier on, but he kept fighting, and he started to make some really good strides. I think he made some great plays, especially in the second half. again, just the illustrative of the team. Like, we're going to still fight. We're still going to compete. We're still going to try to make plays. And he was able to get some opportunities in space and help move the team up and down the field.
I know we have a full day of football left, but I think this game might have 2 of the top 10 plays on SportsCenter. Of course, the sack sequence that the gentleman had, but the toe drag. That was impressive.
That was impressive.
One of the most athletic catches I think I've ever seen on a football field.
Oh, and the review time it took for that, thanks to the officials for giving us copious amounts of time so we could enjoy that. That was just a beautiful, I mean, the wherewithal and the knowledge to know where he was at and to drag that toe like that. And I don't know if I think it was his right foot. I don't know if his right foot humanly possibly could have been any further in the air out of bounds. Like, he was fully extended out of there and dragging that toe.
He removed gravity from his right leg for like a second to make sure that he got that down. It was crazy. It looked like he was physically pulling his leg up as he's falling to the ground. But what a catch for that kid. And then also Braden Pegan, too, getting his first collegiate touchdown. Good game for the receivers, I think.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go John Miller. I thought disruptive force, watching him move from last year, stepping up in one of those situations where we had an injury, and then consistently performing last year on this team, and then to just being outstanding. 2 sacks, a QB hurry that forced an interception, 7 tackles, always in there, always a high motor. The linebacking court did great. I mean, they've been a strength for this team, and I think it's going to be there. But my game ball would go to John Miller, the guy from Oregon. Big fan of what he's doing there. The linebacking core doing really well. Honorable mention would be Gabe Iniguez. I think Gabe, I'd be interested to see how many snaps he played, but he was in the middle of that offensive line and defense all game and performing and going and, pursuing. You don't like to see anybody get out, but his pursuit of the quarterback, Marcel Reese went down with that clean tackle and everything else. Of course, those in College Station might disagree a little bit on that, but I think Gabe gets that one too. But really confident after the Aggies dropped this one to Texas A&M down in College Station. What you got?
I think we got to throw a game ball in for Anthony Garcia too.
Yeah, I think
first collegiate touchdown for 2 guys. That's always a special moment for him. So just got to give him the props for that. That's got to be fun to experience, especially on a field like Kyle Field in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah, and I don't do betting or prop bets and don't condone it or anything like that. But can you imagine who had the prop bet out there at the start? One of the starting wide receivers for Utah State would throw the first touchdown in the game for them. Like,
if you had a parlay with an Anthony Garcia throwing touchdown on it, I'm going to send you my Venmo later. Yeah. Share the love.
And you need to tell 1-800-NEED-HELP for betting, because that's a pretty out there proposition.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes. All right, Aggie College 355 at KVNU Logan 610 AM 1021 FM. Coming back, we're here from Coach Mendenhall, and then we're going to give you some of our thoughts as we look to next week's game for Air Force as the Aggies come back home and wrap things up here on Aggie Call. Still time for you to get in on the text line 435-554-1175, and phone lines open. Get you to the front of the line 753-5868. That's 753 KVNU.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is thrilled to welcome Dr. Jackson Deere to their team of trusted specialists. Dr. Deere joins Doctors Blotter and Robinette to provide exceptional medical and surgical care for your ears, nose, throat, and related structures of the head and neck. Appointments are now available. Whether it's allergies, hearing, or sinus concerns, Cache Valley ENT is here to help you live the life you deserve. Welcome Dr. Deere to Cache Valley and the team at Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat. Now serving Logan, Providence, Tremont, Preston, and Montpelier.
Hello, Cache Valley. Did you know the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan has bike and tube rentals? That's right. The Sportsman has kids' bikes, bikes for cruising around town, hardtail mountain bikes, and full suspension electric bikes for rent. If you haven't ridden an e-bike, you are missing out on so much fun. We can even give you ideas where to ride. If you need to rent a tube or many tubes for Bear Lake, Hiram Dam, or the Narrows in Idaho, we have those too. Come to the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan for your summer bike and tube rentals. Tons of parking in the back.
Hi,
Hi, this is Brooke Stevenson.
Ty Smith.
And David Castor with Adams Wealth Advisors. We're truly honored to be named Best of Northern Utah Gold winner for the Best Financial Planner. This community means everything to us, and we're grateful for every customer who made this possible. Thank you for your trust.
Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
This Aggie broadcast is brought to you by The Sportsman, a world-class shopping experience on Main Street on News Talk KVNU, the home of the Aggies.
It's Aggie Call here on KVNU 1021 FM, 610 AM, KVNU Logan. And coming up now here at Coach Bronco Mendenhall's post-game press conference, thanks to Jason Walker from the Full Court Press and also Cache Valley Daily covering Aggie athletics and also high school athletics for Cache Valley Daily and for us here at the Radio Ranch. He gets the interviews every week. And here's Coach Mendenhall after the game with Texas A&M.
The resilience and the way they competed. Ultimately, I have to prepare them at a higher level so they can play better, cleaner, longer, and more productively than we did today. And it's a race. Obviously, Air Force is next. The unique challenges that they bring, plenty to take away from this game, things that certainly can be improved. I love my team. So I'll take questions if you have any.
Coach, this is Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. Wanted to ask about the difficulty defending Marcel Reed. He had a pretty good game before he left with that injury. Just seemed like he was able to move the ball well enough through the air and then burned you a few times with his legs.
Yeah, really a dynamic player, a fantastic athlete. And as you mentioned, he's very elusive on the ground and running the football. Their ability to run the football set up some double moves and play action passes that got behind us. And just overall, his ability to keep drives and plays alive made it difficult to get off the field. Our execution wasn't up to what needed to happen to manage not only him, but the other players in the scheme that they were running. And so I think he's a very good player.
Coach, Trent Wood with the Deseret News. Obviously, this game is a hard game to play at Texas A&M, but I'm curious, you've talked a lot about establishing a culture at Utah State. And what did you see as far as the establishment of that culture from today's game?
I saw a team respond. We didn't play well in the first half. Some miscues and mistakes and plays that we were giving up or not making. They had Texas A&M did a really nice job pressuring our quarterback and controlling the tempo on that side of the ball as well. So we really just got outplayed. In the first half, our team responded well to the second half in terms of what I asked them to do. And that was just simply focusing on their assignment and their execution and their effort and play another half of football. And that becomes part of what teams need to do when they're trailing and when they're on the road and how they respond. And so I liked that part. And I thought they responded to the challenge that was given at halftime, really in all phases.
Coach Mendenhall, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. Just Brady Boyd, Texas native. How fun was it to see a kid return to his home state and make some big plays for you like he did?
Yeah, I was really, really excited for Brady. Any of these kids that have been at one place, Division I program or two, and are just trying to find a home where they're valued and needed and can contribute. That's a happy ending for a lot of these kids and maybe some in the portal. It's not all negative, I think, and that sometimes it's painted that way. But when you have a chance to transfer and then you end up kind of hitting a lottery pick of playing a game in your home state. I think that's pretty special for not only him, but his family.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship. I want to ask about John Miller. 2 sacks, also had a pressure on that Noah Avenger interception in the second half. What does it do for your defense to have a linebacker who's that productive as a pass rusher?
Really helpful. I would love to say that our personnel and the roles are already defined and specific and really clear. They're clear enough after 2 games today, added more clarity to that. And so when a player has some production against the team, like we played today of that caliber out on the road, that certainly helps us be more clear with our identity.
Coach,
Brentwood with
Jason
the
Walker again. Just want to ask about the penalties. You had 11 last week. You had 11 this week. I think 6 of them were procedural, pre-snap type penalties. Is that just a new team still figuring out what their assignments are in each of these plays?
I don't think so. I think it's just we need to do a better job of coaching them, the precision and the operational excellence that has to happen pre-snap. And now doing it on the road in a more hostile and louder environment. Certainly that raises the bar, and we didn't prepare them well enough to show the improvement that I believed that was happening during the week, but obviously it didn't hold, and so it showed up again.
Coach Mendenhall, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal again. It's always important to avoid third and longs, but how extra important was it to avoid that against Texas A&M's pass rush? And are you going to see a better pass rush this season?
I'm not sure we'll see a better one. Really well coached, talented players, and we knew how important it was to stay on schedule on first and second down. Give Texas A&M credit that they didn't allow us to as frequently as we wanted to, and in obvious pass situations, you saw what that looked like, and they're really skilled at pressuring the quarterback.
Anything else for Coach Mendenhall? I'll ask one more. Jason Walker again. What positives do you try and take away from the pass game? I know there's a few negative with sacks and complaining about 50% of the passes, but there were some pretty solid moments. What positives do you take away from what Barnes was able to do with the pass game?
Oh, I think you've just hit it. So you put all of those comments together, and we're just striving for higher efficiency and consistency, right? So there's the glimpses, and there's the stretches, and there's the series in between some of the inconsistencies. So yeah, efficiency and consistency will increase over time and needs to increase over time. And that's the capability, the concepts, and the possibilities are there for sure.
Coach Mendenhall's post-game press conference after the Aggies drop one in College Station, 44-22, Texas A&M picking up the win. You're listening to Aggie Call here on KVNU with Stockton Jukes, J.D. Walker, Eric Franson, and Tyler Larson. As we're getting ready to wrap up things here and get into some final thoughts, checking out the text line real quick. If you want to get in real quick, you can get in at 435-554-1175. Phone line's still open, too, as long as we're talking and you got something you want to say. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the Aggies' performance today down at Texas A&M. 753-5868-753 KVNU and 9315 with one text coming in. How does this week's performance help us with Air Force next week? 9315 helping me do my job for me as we roll into talking about the Aggies' next opponent as they're coming home for some home cooking on Merlin Olsen Field next Saturday night. It's going to be a late start. KVNU Aggie Game Day kicking off at 5:45 with Stockton Jukes and I. And Stockton, first thoughts kind of on how this may have prepared us for Air Force and your first thoughts of taking on the Air Force Academy next week.
Yeah, so one of the things that was kind of the focus for Texas A&M and one of the things that a lot of people were talking about for the Maroon Aggies coming into this game was they didn't run the ball very well against UTSA, so they were really going to focus on the ground game. 235 yards on the ground. It looks like they had 45 total carries as a team with 7 different guys carrying the ball in various capacities. That's a lot of what you're going to get against Air Force. In their first game, Air Force 1-0, had a bye this week, an early first week. In that first game, 267 yards on the ground, 11 different guys combining for 51 carries. So you're going to get a lot of different run looks, a lot of different option looks. The ball is going to be moving back and forth a couple times, especially, with these service academies, you're expecting some sort of triple option look. You're going to have a couple different guys that ball could go to on any given snap, so you're really going to have to be disciplined in following the ball, tracking the ball. We saw some good defensive moments in the run game for Utah State later in this one, but they really did get gashed in that second half. And kind of to go back and hammer on that point that Bronco made about the passing game, this goes for the running game too. It's all about just the consistency and the efficiency. You really are going to have to control your possessions against Air Force and take clock away from them because they're going to do the same to you with how much they're going to run the ball. And you've got to be physical. You've got to weather some of those 3 to 4 yard bash plays where it's all just about bodies flying around and trying to hit a guy harder than he's going to hit you, because it is going to be an extremely physical game. But I think they've prepared well, playing a team that was determined to come out and make their mark on the run game today in the number 19 team in the country. And you had moments where you looked good against it. So Air Force not going to be as physical or as talented of an offense as Texas A&M, but they are going to be very physical, and they are going to make you work for every single tackle because it's a service academy. That's their reputation.
I do want to point out that when Air Force did play last week, an analogy would be the United States Air Force against the Iranian Air Force. They played Bucknell, okay, guys? So, like, we're like talking about, Raptors against paper airplanes a little bit there, but something. And also, a weird, wild question for my ADH brain here. Why is the Air Force running a triple option ground game? Shouldn't they have an air raid offense? I mean, it's just
You would think, but they only attempted 9 passes and completed 6 of them in that first week for 159 yards. Their starting quarterback, it looks like Josh Johnson, 4 for 7, 112 yards, 57% completion. They had another, it looks like Zarka came in, threw 2, completed both of them for 47 yards. 2 touchdowns through the air for Josh Johnson. But, you're really going to be looking at that ground game. 4 touchdowns on the ground in that first week for Air Force. That is where most of their attack, 9 pass attempts to 51 rush attempts. Your defensive game plan is going to be pretty set in stone going into that one. Obviously, you're going to have to adjust to different run looks and different personnel because they have a lot of different personnel that's going to run the football. But, You can bet a lot of money that it's going to be a run-heavy game.
Tyler Larson, first thoughts for Air Force and how maybe the A&M game prepared as the Aggies moved. But one thing I want to ask you right off the bat, the level of offensive line between Texas A&M and between Air Force, there's going to be a large discrepancy, right?
It is definitely night and day. I know firsthand that Air Force loves to cut at the defensive line. Also on the offensive line, so we got to be prepared for that. With the triple option, this is going to be disciplined football on the defensive side because one guy's going to have to take the pitch, one guy's going to cover the fullback, another guy on the receiver, another guy on the quarterback. Everyone's going to have an assignment, and if you stay true to that, that's how you end up stopping that offense. And I think that one thing that is going to pop up on film for this last game are open field tackles. It's going to be a lot of opportunities for an open field tackle. We missed a lot today, and so we're definitely going to have to improve on that. On the offensive side, Bronco, he mentioned having consistency. I think if you look at our game today, the first 2 touchdowns that we had, Davis had a big run, kind of put the defense on their heels. So I think if we can continue to just keep that run game going, I looked at Air Force's depth chart. Their biggest defensive lineman is 290. The number 17, he's probably 320, 330. So it's going to be a much smaller defense, and we should be able to move that line pretty easy and bring that physicality that we had to bring today, next week. I think we can control the field. We can control the time of possession. And that's what Air Force really thrives on, is holding that ball, just continuing to march down the field. And if we can flip the script, I think we're going to have a good game.
How is important, or does it even matter to you as a player, to open conference play at home? Does that play a role in preparation, or do you prefer it as a player, or does it not really matter because you're just going to go out there and take care of business?
It doesn't really matter. You should just have the same mindset of, all right, next game, we got to take care of business. But, it's much different playing at home. You can't really beat it. Guys are going for you. Offense, you can really communicate, see things. Defense, it's loud. They thrive on that. So it is fun playing at home, but just knowing that it's conference play, it's going to really raise that competition level so much higher.
As an offensive lineman, did it matter to you that at home games you had access to Aggie ice cream and on the road you really didn't?
I tried to stay away from the sweets a little bit before games, feel very sluggish. And then afterwards, it's a different story. So, yeah, it's fun to have it.
All right. Eric Franson, something the Aggies can take from the A&M game today that we saw. Feeling confident, feeling better about it, feeling good going into conference play that you kind of see going into Air Force next week. Some things you think will transition, or do you think we'll see something completely different from Coach Mendenhall?
I don't know that we'll see anything vastly different, but I do feel a little bit more confident in Utah State's ability to get the win on Saturday. It seems weird to say I felt good about Utah State's run defense today when they gave up, 235 yards on the ground. But generally, I felt pretty good about how Utah State was kind of keeping guys in front of them. They didn't get gashed too many times. But, I mean, there were still issues that need to be addressed. But I feel better about Utah State's situation for this season. There's still things that, 2 games doesn't necessarily mean it's a trend for the season. But we've seen some things that manifest in game 1, but also manifest in game 2 against vastly different styles of opponents. So there's some concerns. But generally, overall, I'm feeling much better about Utah State football on the season and excited for a conference opponent coming into town. Air Force always poses a unique challenge, but I'm feeling better about how this Utah State team can handle them.
Now, Eric brings up an interesting point. One last question before I let you guys all go here and we wrap up Aggie Call here on KVNU. Coming into conference play now with the first sample size, Stockton, I'll start with you and we'll go around the room. Do you think Air Force is going to be the first, because, we had UTEP, then we had A&M. Do you think Air Force is going to be the first time we see the full exposure of this Aggie team, like who they are defensively, offensively, on the field? They'll be facing an opponent that's kind of matched to them in their conference. Do you think that's what we're going to see?
I think this is the most like-to-like matchup that we've had so far. I'm struggling to really think of one before we really get into the beef of conference play that would match that, because I think McNeese is one that's kind of that's more of a get your reps in kind of game for Utah State. That one will be, 2 weeks from today. After that, you go on the road for a while, and you'll really start to get into the nitty-gritty, and the road changes things, kind of changes the playing field. But I do think Air Force is really going to be your first true test of, okay, this is the level of opponent that you will be playing for the rest of the season, aside from McNeese and Vanderbilt. How are you going to do? How are you going to clean up your penalties? How are you going to clean up your miscues? And Bryson needs to find a little bit more touch onto the football and kind of get in lockstep with his receivers. There's things that you need to clean up because this is the level that you're going to be playing at for the rest of the season. And if you can succeed against Air Force, it doesn't necessarily have to be pretty, but if you can execute, you can be a little more consistent, you can get a win. I have a hard time seeing how we don't get to a bowl game this season. I think it's such a big step on Saturday to really get into, okay, this is what the rest of our season is going to look like. This is who we're going to be playing the rest of the season. What can we do with it?
And it's kind of just from taking that, it's going to be what we're going to see for the Aggies and expecting conference play. Tyler, do you kind of see that same thing? We kind of have, the Aggies are, playing with, Huckleberry, I'll say, is what we are. But we've had to play a game against an apple and we've had to play a game against an orange, not really our same thing. But now we're getting into some conference play. Do you think we're going to start to see who this true team is in Mountain West play coming up?
Yeah, I do. And I think especially with the coordinators, they're going to be pulling everything they have out of their bag to really see what we have. I don't think they're going to be holding anything back. I don't think they're going to be, a little complacent of what they're calling. I think we're going to actually see what the full Utah State Aggies have to bring this season, because if you can start conference play with a win, that is such a huge momentum piece to roll with, especially, going late into the season. So you got to start that first conference game. You got to get a win. I know that we fall out of conference play again, but just being able to have that, it's going to be big.
And then having that to hold on to in your bag as you go down the road a little bit. Eric, thinking about that, do you think this is going to be the first kind of, I know some people have labeled it Bronco ball, but do you think we're going to see the kind of true iteration of what we're going to see in conference play this year from Coach Mendenhall in the field against Air Force, our first conference game?
Maybe. It's hard to know because how he adjusted his team on offense and defense, more so on defense, last year with New Mexico. Like, that team evolved quite a bit as the season went on. So it's really hard for me to say this Saturday against Air Force, we're really going to see what Utah State's all about, because this team was probably still going to adjust and change. But I hope people show out. little surprised with the low fan attendance in week 1, and I hope we get a good crowd Saturday night. This team shows a lot of positive things. There's some exciting aspects of this team, and I hope there's a good crowd to cheer them on against a conference opponent on Saturday night.
And I'm looking at it right now. That night, we're looking at around 72 degrees and sunny. If that's not a 10 out of 10 Cache Valley night to be up at Merlin Olsen Field to watch the Aggies.
Yeah, bring a hoodie. It'll be nice. It won't be too cool. Should be under the lights. Should be a great setting against a conference opponent, against Coach Howdy Doody. I mean, Troy Calhoun.
And we get to do that a couple weeks in a row, too.
Yeah, and then you just get to walk across the street, get some Aggie ice cream, and call it Bull Tracks, one of my favorites. Stockton, before we get out of here, you reminded me, let's do a quick Mountain West scoreboard.
Yeah, we got a couple games going final in the last couple of minutes. Obviously, we talked about Boise State 51-14 over Eastern Washington last night. Texas got the job done against San Jose State 38-7. No real surprise there. New Mexico, it did turn out to be a nail-biter against Idaho State. It was a 3-point game until about the 2-minute warning, and then New Mexico puts one in the end zone with 1:48 to play. They win 32-22. Right now, currently going on in the Mountain West, Fresno State trailing by 1 against Oregon State. It's 21-20 with 1:15 to go in the third. And then Wyoming, 24-7 over Northern Iowa, 3:08 to go in the third. Sacramento State getting the better of Nevada right now. It's 10-3 with 1:55 to play in the second quarter. Nevada marching down the field. They've got first and goal from the 4. So that could change. That could go to halftime. But then 5 p.m. Northern Colorado at CSU. 6 p.m. UCLA at UNLV. 8:15 San Diego State at Washington State. And the nightcap Sam Houston at Hawaii. 9:59 p.m., which is a kickoff time that we are going to get familiar with in about a month.
Yeah, and Nevada, also known on this show as UNR. We were there.
Or known on the East Coast as Nevada.
Yeah, my wife was the greatest thing. We were going in, and she, Utah State, San Diego State, all that stuff. Is this what Reno State plays? I think that is what I'm going to be calling UNR from now on.
I'm sure they'd appreciate that. They'll throw that in the media guide, too.
So we had a great time here on Aggie Call. Tyler Larson, Eric Franson, as Stockton Jukes. You can catch Stockton a little bit later tonight. Going to be at Club Estes. Where can they find you to stream that, Stockton?
It's going to be the Mountain West Network. Tonight will be on probably 5 minutes before 7 against number 21 Utah, who just got swept by Texas A&M on Thursday night. So I have the Aggies in 4 sets tonight. Tune in or get over to the club and find out what's going to happen. I recommend getting there. I heard it was electric last night, but we were busy in North Logan, so really excited to be in that environment this evening.
Coach Larson, what do you got going on at Green Canyon coming up this week?
We have Desert Peak, but I actually have the Hall of Fame induction.
That's right.
So I will not be at the game, but pulling for them.
All right. Are we going to see you on Aggie Call next week?
I'm going to do my best. Yes.
All right. No, hey, you know what? You're going into the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famers get to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
yes.
No.
And frankly, I know he's not listening right now. Anybody that can pancake us through a wall, they can decide when they can be here or not. Eric Franson, you, Cache Valley Daily, got all sorts of things going on there. Of course, all the prep sports, high school. You're kind of the man behind the curtain running all that stuff last night and keeping everything. We have great high school coverage, but full court press, Monday through Friday. If you want Aggie coverage, we'll cover you a little bit here on the Valley's Morning News. KVNU, Craig Hislop covers sports at the 15 and 45 break in the morning show. But if you want full Aggie coverage, you guys over there on the full court press.
Yeah, Bronco will have his press conference on Monday. He'll have some players that will join him. So both Jason and I will play bits from that on Monday, and a chance to hear them react to what happened in College Station. And then on Tuesday, I am going to be running up to practice to get some additional interviews with some players. So we'll bring unique content throughout the week and try to get somebody from the Air Force side will join our show during the week as well, as part of a prep and lead up to next week's showdown between the Aggies and the Falcons.
And not just Aggie football, but all Aggie athletics, soccer, you name it, basketball, also volleyball going on there too, also high school sports.
We got an interview with Utah State hockey coming up next week too. So
nice.
Stay tuned for that.
Check it out.
Who is it? Who's coming over?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I know we've got somebody lined up.
So 4-6 over on our sister station, 106.9 The Fan. And that's going to wrap it up. Oh, go.
I have a shocking national score that I feel the need to share with all my college football sickos out there. The Troy Trojans from Alabama are leading Clemson in Death Valley 16-0 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter.
And there's been a lot of booing from what I've read.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see
in Death Valley?
Syracuse won today, but coach had them out on the field running wind sprints in full gear after the game. They won and they did it. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up Aggie Call. We're going to do this all over again next Saturday. Aggie Game Day kickoff, 5:45 with Stockton Jukes and myself. Through the week, you can catch me on the Valley's Morning News with Will Philwright and Craig Hislop. You can also check this out, Aggie Call, on the podcast. Will gets that up pretty much right after we're off the air here. It's now 4:22, sitting at 75 degrees and a beautiful Saturday evening here in Cache Valley. Thanks for listening, and thanks for allowing us to do radio for the greatest Aggie fans on earth here on KVNU. We'll see you back here next time, coming into Kim Commando here on KVNU.
This Utah State broadcast has been a presentation of News Talk KVNU and the Cache Valley Media Group, the heritage home for the Aggies.